The wind across the high plains of Cedar Hollow carried the scent of sage and distant rain. Rhett Lawson had not spoken to another soul in 9 days. He preferred it that way. The cabin sat alone on a low rise, surrounded by nothing but rolling grass, a few scrub oaks, and the ghosts he carried inside his chest. He was 41, lean from hard work and harder memories. 10 years earlier, a fever had taken his wife Ellen in 3 terrible nights. He had held her hand until the end, helpless. After the burying, he stopped going to town except for salt, powder, and nails. The rest of the world could burn for all he cared. That morning in late October, while checking fence line near the dry wash, he found her. An Apache girl, no more than 18, hung upside down from a stout cottonwood branch. Her wrists were bound behind her back with rawhide, ankles lashed together above her head. Blood had dried in long streaks down her arms and torso. One eye was swollen shut. The other stared blankly at the horizon. Flies crawled across cracked lips. Rhett cut the rope first. She dropped hard into his arms. He expected a corpse. Instead, a shallow breath rattled in her throat. He carried her the mile back to the cabin without stopping. Inside, he laid her on the only bed, Ellen's old bed, and lit the lamp. When he cut away the torn deerskin dress, he saw the burns, deliberate cigarette brands on her ribs, knife cuts across her thighs in patterns meant to terrify. Someone had wanted information very badly. She woke once, just long enough to speak. "Barrett Kane," she whispered, voice like dry leaves. Then she fainted again. Rhett knew the name. Everyone in 3 counties knew Barrett Kane. The man owned half the valley, the railroad spur, the bank, and, most importantly, the sheriff and the federal marshal. Kane came west after the war with money that smelled of carpetbagging and worse. Now silver had been found on Apache land north of the river, and Kane wanted it all. By dusk, the girl stirred again. Rhett gave her water from a tin cup. She drank slowly, eyes never leaving his face. "Naeli," she said finally, touching her chest. "My name, Naeli." He nodded once. "Rhett Lawson." She told him in halting English mixed with gestures. Her people, maybe 30 remaining of the Mescalero band, had refused Kane's offer for their canyon. The silver veins ran through it like lightning frozen in rock. When they said no, Kane's riders came at dawn with repeating rifles and fire. They killed the men first, then the old ones, then the children who ran. Naeli had hidden in a crevice until night. They caught her 2 days later, dragged her to the cottonwood to make her talk. She never did. "They will come back," she said. "They know I lived." Rhett looked out the window at the empty prairie. "Then they'll find me first." He moved her to the root cellar beneath the cabin floor, a false hiding place he'd dug years ago for emergencies. It had a false panel, air holes disguised as knotholes, and enough space for a pallet and a lantern. He carried blankets, water, jerked beef, and a small derringer. "Stay quiet," he told her. "No light unless I call." She nodded, already understanding. They came the next afternoon. 4 riders, Kane brand on their saddle blankets. Lead man was Jessup, Kane's foreman, tall, scarred, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. "Lawson," Jessup called from 50 yards out. "We're looking for a runaway Injun girl. Seen her?" Rhett stood on the porch with the Winchester across his forearms. "Seen nothing but dust." Jessup smiled, thin. Mind if we take a look around? I do mind. The smile vanished. Boss says she's here, says you took her in. That makes you an accessory to theft of company property. Silver ain't company property till it's dug, and murder ain't theft. Jessup's hand drifted toward his holster. The others spread out. Rhett spoke low. Last chance to ride away. They didn't take it. The first shot came from Jessup. It splintered the porch rail an inch from Rhett's elbow. Rhett answered with 2 quick rounds from the Winchester. Jessup jerked backward, blood blooming across his shirt. The others opened fire. Rhett rolled behind the water trough. Bullets chewed wood and kicked dirt. He waited for the rhythm. 3 shots, paused to reload, then rose and put one through a man's throat at 30 yards. Another tried to flank. Rhett caught him crossing open ground and dropped him with a heart shot. The last 2 panicked. One galloped for the horizon. The other tried to circle back to the barn. Rhett sprinted inside, grabbed 3 sticks of old mining dynamite from under the workbench, leftovers from when he'd prospected years ago, lit the fuse with a lucifer, and lobbed it toward the charging rider. The explosion lifted horse and man in a red cloud. The last rider kept running. Silence returned, broken only by the ringing in Rhett's ears. He dragged the bodies into a line near the gate. Then he roped Jessup's corpse to a saddle and rode into Cedar Hollow. The sheriff's office smelled of coffee and tobacco. Marshal Tate sat behind the desk, boots up. Sheriff Duggan leaned against the wall, picking his teeth. Rhett dropped the lead rope. Jessup's body thumped to the floorboards. Kane's men tried to search my place. Tried hard. They're short 3 now. Tate didn't look surprised. You kill a man on Kane land, that's murder, Lawson. It was my land, my porch, my water trough they shot holes in. Duggan spat. That girl's a fugitive, stole mining claims. You're harboring her. There was a massacre. Whole camp burned. Women, children. Tate leaned forward. Stories Injun's tell don't hold in court, especially not against Mr. Kane. He's bringing civilization here. Silver means jobs, means schools, means progress. Rhett met his eyes. Means graves. Tate said quietly, Ride home. Tell the girl to keep running. Next time we won't ask questions. Rhett meffed without another word. When he returned, fresh boot prints circled the cabin. Someone had scratched a crude skull and crossbones on the porch post with a bowie knife, a message. Naeli waited in the cellar. She had heard the riders leave. They marked the house, she said when he opened the trap door. They will bring more. I know. She climbed out, legs shaky but eyes steady. You should leave, take horses, go south, Mexico, maybe. Red shook his head. I ran once after Ellen died, never again. He spent the afternoon preparing. He filled every canteen, checked every cartridge, loaded the Winchester, the Henry in the barn, the old Colt Dragoon on his hip. He strung tripwires with tin cans across approaches, dug shallow rifle pits behind low rises, placed the remaining dynamite at choke points, boarded windows from inside, leaving loopholes. Naeli helped silently, carrying ammunition, sharpening knives, boiling water for coffee. Once she stopped and looked at him. Why? She asked. You owe me nothing. He said, because someone has to. Night came cold and clear. Moonlight turned the prairie silver. Around midnight, they saw the torches, 8, maybe 10, moving in a loose line from the northeast, slow, deliberate. Rhett helped Naeli back into the cellar. "Stay down till it's over," he said. "If I fall, wait till dawn, then walk west. Tell people who'll listen. Tell them Barrett Kane murdered your people for silver. Tell them someone tried to stop him." She gripped his arm. "Come with me." He shook his head. "I finish what I start." He closed the trap door, slid the rug over it, and stepped onto the porch. The riders halted 200 out. A voice carried on the wind. Kane himself. "Lawson, you got till sunrise. Send the girl out. Walk away. I'll let you live." Rhett levered around into the Winchester. Silence answered for him. Kane laughed once, short and ugly. "Your funeral." Torches dipped. Riders expanded into a wide arc. Rhett walked down the steps into the moonlit yard. He stood alone in the open, rifle at his shoulder, calm as stone. Somewhere behind him, in the dark cellar, Nayeli pressed her ear to the earth and listened to the first shots crack across the night. The fight lasted 17 minutes. Rhett used every trick he knew, moving after each shot, using shadows, letting them come close before answering. He dropped 4 in the first rush, 2 more when they tried the barn. Dynamite took another pair in a blinding flash that lit the prairie like false dawn. Kane himself rode forward at the end, pistol raised. Rhett's last round caught him high in the chest. Kane slid sideways from the saddle and lay still. The remaining riders broke and ran. When the echoes died, Rhett stood in the yard, breathing hard. Blood ran from a graze on his left arm. Another bullet had torn through his right thigh. He didn't feel either yet. He limped to the porch, sat on the top step, and waited for sunrise. Nayeli emerged when the first gray light touched the eastern ridge. She saw him sitting there, rifle across his knees, staring at the bodies scattered like broken dolls. She knelt beside him. "You lived," she said softly. "Barely." She tore a strip from her dress and bound his leg. Then she looked at the horizon. "I will tell them everything." Rhett nodded once. She stood. "Will you come?" He looked at the cabin, his cabin, Ellen's cabin, and then at the open land beyond. "Maybe next time," he said. Nayeli walked west, small against the rising sun. Rhett watched until she became a dot, then nothing. He stayed on the step until full light poured over the valley. Somewhere crows were already calling. He had not run, and for the first time in 10 years, that felt like enough. And that's where the story ends tonight. So tell me, one last time, friend, where did you hear this tale from? What time did the sun come up for you while Rhett waited on that porch? Drop it below, along with a like if the story stuck with you, a subscribe if you want more Western nights like this, and send a star if Rhett earned it in your book. Until the next fire we light, ride safe out there.